What is the future for fuel? The war in Ukraine has made many people question their reliance on oil and gas, and there have been calls for the transition to alternative and renewable energy sources to be speeded up. Hello, I'm Rob. Welcome to News Review from BBC Learning English. And to talk more about this story and the vocabulary behind the headlines, we've got Roy. Hello, Roy.
Hello, Rob, and hello, everybody. If you would like to test yourself on the vocabulary around this story, all you need to do is head to our website, bbclearningenglish.com, to take a quiz. But now let's explain more about this news story. Countries, mainly in Europe, have been trying to reduce their reliance on Russia's oil and gas following the invasion of Ukraine. The EU gets roughly 40% of its gas from Russia. That's according to figures from research group Transport and Environment. This dependence costs around $118 million a day. The EU has now laid out a strategy that could cut reliance on this fuel source by 2/3 within a year. The Repower EU plan aims to make Europe independent of Russian fossil fuels by 2030.
Yeah, and you've picked three words and expressions from the news headlines about this story. What are they, please?
We have re-energize, mitigate, and seeing sense.
So that's re-energize, mitigate, and seeing sense. Okay, well, let's have a look at that first headline then, please.
Okay, so our first headline comes from Reuters, and it reads, Europe's fuel crisis re-energizes debate over natural gas.
So that's re-energize, give new energy and life to something.
So, re-energize, R-E-N-E-R-G-I-S-E. Now, notice when I spelt it with an S. In British English, we spell this word with an S, whereas in American English, it is spelt with a Z. And it means to give new vitality or energy to something. But let's break this word down. Let's first of all talk about that prefix re.
Yeah, re. I mean, I've seen lots of words that begin with re. For example, related to movies, you can get a remake or a re-release, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely. So what re means is again. That prefix means again. So if you remake a film, you take an original film, maybe the same story with different actors and a different director, and you make it again. You remake the film. You also said re-release. That's when we take the original film and release it again, to re-release. Now let's move away from movies. If you write an essay and your teacher, they don't like your essay, you could rewrite it, write it again, or redo it. Do it again. Re-energize means give new energy to something.
Yeah, and in the headline, we were talking about a situation being re-energized. But of course, people can be re-energized. When I'm feeling a bit low or a bit tired, I might have a strong cup of coffee to re-energize myself.
Absolutely, yes, people can. And if you're really, really tired, maybe you should take some more holidays. Now, often when we go away, it's time that we can use to de-stress and relax. And that means that we then feel more energized. We feel energized again or re-energized. We have another expression that we can use to say this, and it means we say recharge your batteries. So you go on holiday to recharge your batteries. It's like we have batteries inside of us, and again, it adds charge again. So it recharges our batteries.
And of course, you can actually recharge batteries, rechargeable batteries. You can re-energize those, can't you? Is that how we say it?
You can re-energize a battery, but it's not a common way of saying it. It would be more natural to say recharge a battery. But both of the words re-energize and recharging are both about adding energy again. So it's got a similar idea.
Okay, Roy, thanks for that. Let's have a summary. In our 6-minute English programme, we looked at smart tech and climate change, an interesting topic. How can we watch that video again, Roy?
All you need to do is click the link in the description below.
Yep, it's down there below. Okay, let's move on to your next headline, please.
Okay, so our next headline comes from New Civil Engineer, and it reads, UK renewable energy projects should be accelerated to mitigate impact of Ukraine conflict.
That's mitigate. Lessen negative effects.
Okay, so mitigate is a verb and it is spelled MITIGATE, and it means to lessen or lower the bad effects of something.
And we often use this word in connection with business these days, don't we?
Yes, we do. Now, let me give you an example. Now, when we talk about mitigating something, I come from an island, and it's quite a popular place for tourists. And in the summer, a lot of people come here for tourism. Now, there are lots of benefits to the economy of tourism, but also for some, there's a negative impact because there's a lot more people and things are busier. Now, to get to the island where I live, you need a boat to get here. And that means that in the summer, when the tourists come, it's a lot busier. So the company can mitigate the effects of more people by running more boats.
Okay, got it. But in the headline here, when we're using the word mitigate, we're talking about reducing the reliance on fossil fuels from other places. But can mitigate have other uses?
Yeah, so for example, you could mitigate damage to the environment by starting to use renewable energy sources, or you could mitigate pollution in rivers by changing the way in which your drainage systems. There are lots of different ways that you can use mitigate.
And we use the word, it seems, for things that have big impacts or big changes, and it's quite a formal word as well.
Absolutely. It's not commonly used in everyday situations. So, for example, you said earlier when you're tired, you drink a coffee. I wouldn't say, for example, I'm mitigating the effects of tiredness. It would be very strange. Alternatives to mitigate, you could say maybe ease, lessen, or weaken.
Okay, very interesting. Thank you, Roy. Let's have a summary. In one of our news review programmes, we talked about countries trying to change the UN climate report. How can we find out more, Roy?
All you need to do is click the link in the description below.
Okay, thanks. Let's now have a look at your next headline, please.
Okay, so the next headline comes from The Guardian, and it reads, Is the UK government finally seeing sense on renewables?
So that's seeing sense, understanding something logical.
Okay, seeing sense, it's a fixed expression. We usually say see sense. In this case, it's spelled SEEINGSENSE, and it means to understand something logical.
Now, an example of this is a while ago, I was struggling with my old phone. It had a cracked screen. Even the letter P wouldn't work on the keyboard. I was really struggling. And you kept saying, buy a new phone, Rob, buy the latest phone. Eventually, I gave into your nagging and I bought a new phone, and it's changed my life. I've seen sense, Roy.
Yeah, you finally saw sense. Now, sense in this sort of situation means logic or a good idea, or the idea that you're coming round to my way of thinking. And I'm using see sense, you saw sense, to mean that you finally agreed with me.
And we kind of use this phrase when we think someone's doing something a bit foolish. We want them to see sense.
Yeah, that's right. We commonly use it when we're talking about when we think somebody's behavior is maybe a bit silly or it's not correct, and we want them to change or to agree with something that most people believe is sensible. Now, we have another expression when we talk about what most people believe is a sensible idea, and that is common sense. It's something that everyone knows or thinks is a good idea.
Yeah, I guess it's, for example, when you're using a train, it's a very busy train. When it comes into the station, you want all the people to get off the train before you get on the train. That's common sense, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, my father always says common sense isn't that common, which means that although it's logical and a lot of people should understand that, not everybody gets that idea, which is why I always see people not letting other people get off, and there's a real struggle, and it makes it difficult for people.
I think they need to see sense. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, very sensible advice. Let's have a look at a summary. Well, it's time now for you to recap the words and expressions we've talked about today, please, Roy.
Yes, we had re-energize, give new energy and life to something. We had mitigate, lessen negative effects. And we had seeing sense, understanding something logical.
Now, if you want to test your understanding of today's vocabulary, just go to the quiz that's on our website at bbclearningenglish.com. And that's the place to go to find all our Learning English resources. And of course, we're on social media as well, so check us out. Well, that's all for today's news review. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.